All right, thanks everybody for coming out. We're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. I'm going to kick it over to Pastor Nathan for the opening prayer.
Opening devotion.
All
right. Phew. All right, everybody. So, new member Sunday was yesterday. Any new members here already? Any new members? Nope. We'll reel them in eventually. I asked Dana what was up tonight, what we're up to. So she told me financial reports. Can everyone give me like an ooh, yeah. We have, construction in the new space as a possibility. Can we get like an oh, that could be fun. And then we have our favorite council elections. Can we get another ooh, yeah. I don't know about you. You show up to church meetings and it feels like you're dealing with like the monotony of life. It's the routine of life. It's you're like, do we actually have to do this? You kind of start to wonder, why bother at all? Does anything we do in this room in the next hour and a half matter to God or to his kingdom? When the disciples were called to follow Jesus, they saw Jesus do miraculous things. Some people have the idea that when Jesus called his disciples, they had to like leave everything behind and just start their lives over entirely. That would actually make being a disciple of Jesus easier. Can you think about that? Like if you were like, all right, I'm following Jesus now. I don't have to deal with any of the mess I've made, the relationships I have. I get to start new with a clean slate. That would actually be easier, right? And instead, you get called to follow Jesus in the monotony, the routine of life. And you wonder, does any of it actually matter? I have to think that some of you are like, I barely made it to this meeting tonight. Like barely. Like I'm tired, I worked the day, and then I barely showed up. But somehow God seems to work in the monotony, the routine, and the ordinary. My mother hated washing dishes. She had a prayer above her sink. She hated washing dishes so much, and it was something like, God, thank you for these dirty dishes. They have a story to tell. While others may be hungry, we are very well. I remember her saying that prayer over and over because every day with 3 kids, you had a lot of dishes to clean, right? Does the monotony, the routine, does the ordinary matter to God? I have to think that there is a lot of faithfulness done when you do the routine of life. I have to think that there is a lot of good and a love of neighbor being done when you step into the monotony and show up day after day after day. If you feel like you live an unimpressive or even routine kind of life, there is good news. Your Jesus found you when you were at your most unimpressive, when you had nothing to contribute, when you wondered, should I keep going or do the next day? It seems that Jesus actually found you at your most unimpressive. And then all he did was bring you to himself. He found you, he called you his own, he said he would never give up on you, and he even said that in the routine of your life, he would actually give meaning and purpose to every little thing you do, no matter how mundane, monotonous, or routine it was. So tonight, we'll wade into the routine, the elections, the fiscal reports, maybe a little bit of fun thinking about a new space. But know that your Jesus found you right in the middle of the routine of your life. And so we pray. Father, we'll be honest, there are things that are not routine that have happened around here, and we just have to sit back and stand in awe. You have done marvelous things among us, great and mighty works. And yet the routine of our lives exists. And so, Father, everything that feels monotonous or routine, we hand it all to you. May everything we do this evening, may our work be established by the work of your hands. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Pastor Nathan. Yeah, I like coming to these things. I get out of kid duty to show up tonight. So thanks, Sarah, back home. For those of you that maybe haven't been to a voters meeting yet before, we always have an introduction of guests to kind of start. So for any of you who are members who have never attended a voters meeting, we would ask you to stand and please state your name. Do we have any folks out there who are members who have never attended a voters meeting? Perfect. Okay. We'll start with Jeff.
Jeff Coolman. We became members a year ago this past June.
Thank you.
Richard Scott.
Richard Scott.
How long have been members? Been about a year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Pat, what was the last name? Okay, thank you.
Larry Ponce.
Larry, thank you. Any other members who this is their first voters meeting? All right, let's welcome those folks. So just for your information, at the end of the meeting, we're going to ask you to come up and sign the voting book, and this will, after this meeting, you'll be able to then vote in any voters meeting from here on forward. So that's how that works. And hopefully Pastor Jeff or Pastor Nathan will have some fun things to say about you. All right, at this point in time, if you guys have been around, you know we've had a few special voters meetings. So we have 3 different meeting minutes to approve, one from May 13th, which was our last regularly scheduled voters meeting, and then July 30th was a special meeting, and August 25th a special meeting. Those minutes are all attached to the agenda that you guys should have received. At this point, I would welcome a motion to approve. Thank you. I would welcome a second. Who moved?
Jack Goldman.
Yeah. Thank you. And the second was back here. Yep. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion passes. All right. On to the pastor's report. Pastor Jeff.
Pastor Nathan said, there are times that are routine where you're just doing dishes and it's ordinary and you fall into the routine. And then there are times in your family that are extraordinary. Baby's born, you move houses, you retire, or you become an empty nester, or you relocate, all of that stuff. Pastor Nathan, I would argue that we're in an unroutine time right now. There are routine times in a family, and I think right now I just feel the convergence of a lot of extraordinary stuff. So tonight you'll hear about the purchase of property down the way, Gathering Square. Just think the last few months, crazy stuff has happened. We removed Incredible Pizza from the space next door in August. We're seeking a new tenant partner neighbor, reserving some space for potential future ministry. That's just stuff with the house itself. There's loss in the family. I'm still thinking about Pastor Greg, who we lost a year ago. I'm thinking about, even more recently, Jack Schmidt, a member for 70 years. We buried him a week ago today. And so I just think about the change of people, or people that have relocated, significant people that we miss that retire and think they can move away, and so they've done that. Or retirements in our midst. Cheryl Beecher, long time in our office, retired in August. Our director of worship, Mark Seneschal, is retiring in 2026. Daniel Meyer, 6 months ago, took a call to Nebraska, our 15-year youth minister, his wife, first grade teacher at Green Park. And so we've experienced kind of loss in that way, in sending. At the same time, Crazy stuff is happening. We're growing multi-ethnically. Our Christ Memorial Makana Jesus worshiping community has been worshiping across the hall this fall and have established in that rhythm. And that's exciting and different and a change. At the same time, all kinds of stuff continues. Our schools, Green Park is Lisa, our principal's here, Lisa Waltenberger. I'm proud of a lot of work being done to colloquize a lot of our teachers. I'm looking at Danielle Madsen, who we just installed, was it last week? Week before? Last week? And Jennifer Dixon as well. So we have 2 members who officially are called teachers now, rostered, although they've been teaching before. And so we're excited about that. We've got a health center, a coffee house, a theater ministry, 2 locations. I don't know, all kinds of stuff. We sent a lot of people this last year. Colleen Barnes Colleen, did she slip out? She was here earlier. Colleen has been with us for about a year as our sent coordinator. I just got some stats from her. In 12 months, we sent 946 people to 73 different projects with 21 different mission partners or agencies. So we don't do a lot around here. It's kind of a boring church, and your presence here tonight is evidence that everybody's just kind of bored and sitting around. I'm grateful for that. At the same time, that can be all the activity and all of the change can be dizzying. And so just know that your leadership and your staff sometimes are disoriented, and we're doing our best to keep upright sometimes. In the middle of construction, sometimes the house gets a little messy, and I feel like we might be just in sort of a reorg time, and there's just a little bit of dust on the floor. Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. And so we're trusting that God is building the house, and that when in times of transition or seasons of change, God is actually up to something and working. And so we're grateful for that. I want to comment just in particular on some staffing things. With our child care center, Anna Irby, our director, is no longer director of our child care center as of October 16th. We thank her for 2 years where she labored in leading that ministry. And also we walked with her and her family, her husband Jared, through some difficult loss in their family. And so we're praying for them. Suzanne Wilson, who's over here tonight, is our interim director. Suzanne has been in our center for 20 years, and most recently as assistant director. And Suzanne is working in that interim role now with the help also of Wilma Griffith. Wilma is here. Sorry, I'm just pointing. I didn't prep you that I was going to point at you. Wilma, nearly 30 years of experience in our child care center, but retired for 2017. Did you retire? Is that it? But is stepping in to help as what we're calling consulting director, so providing some assessment and experience and a set of eyes for Suzanne and the staff. And so we continue to strive to provide loving, caring, Christ-centered care for children and families in our area. Our worship director, I mentioned that Mark Seneschal is planning on retiring in 2026. We have a call committee or a search committee that has been working diligently, taking names from the congregation. I will tell you that in our Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, there is a shortage of all kinds of workers, not just pastors, but directors of worship, DCEs, youth ministry folks, teachers. There's just a shortage, and it's difficult. And so that team has been working very hard. I want to recognize that team. If you're on that worship search team, if you would stand for just a moment to identify yourself. Okay, Keith Poppets and Blake Rundell, Lauren Kreinkamp, Lynette Jost are here. Pastor Paul has worked on that team. Thanks, guys. You can have a seat. They have labored through, give them a hand. Also, Jacqueline Stevens, our assistant director of worship, has helped as well. They have labored through names and kind of background sheets and resumes, Zoom interviews. Most recently, just the last couple of days, an on-site interview with a man named Tony Cooper from Holy Cross Lutheran Church in College Station, Texas, was here. He was in worship yesterday. Some of you may have seen him or met him. In the afternoon, he did a kind of a musical demonstration for different leaders in our different musical groups, whether it's choir or praise team or whatnot. He met with the call committee or the search team for an in-person interview last night, met with our staff this morning, and pastors for lunch today. And so Tony is one of those candidates. The search committee has to kind of go back and review and assess it. He just is leaving, I think, tomorrow morning yet, so that our search team still has to do some evaluation on that weekend. And there's a few more names just to sift through. But they're working diligently on that and hope to have something to share with you soon. If there would be a call to somebody, that would require a voters meeting, a special voters meeting, to call somebody who is a rostered church worker of the LCMS, pastor, DCE, a director of parish music. So you will be alerted if that happens. For example, though, Tony is Lutheran, but not a rostered church worker. So in that case, if somebody in that profile would simply be a hire and not require a voters assembly. So that's the update on that committee right now and working and laboring away. If you have questions or want to talk to them, you saw them stand up earlier. Youth ministry, we've just convened and are getting started in that. Again, Daniel Meyer, Beth left, it's maybe a little over 6 months ago, and we felt with our youth that it was time, and talking with our youth leadership teams, teenagers. And so we've commenced that team. Anybody here tonight who's on that team, if you would stand for a moment, identify yourself. Okay, I think we have 2 of them tonight. So Dave Kuschel, who's also on our church council, is chairing the committee. I'm grateful for that. Jeff Kuhlman is one of our core adult leaders, and he's on that team. Okay, you guys can be seated. Also rounding it out, Kat Simmons, who's a core adult youth leader. 3 youth, Kirby Rosbach, Joshua Clater, and Josie Roars. Mackenzie Bick, who works with children and family ministry. And then Nate Sloats, who is an elder, rounds out that committee. So we've opened up nominations of anybody you may know. We've gotten some names, I think, or a couple names from the congregation. If you can continue to do that, Dave Kuschel's email is in the agenda you got tonight, or is buried in there somewhere. You can find it, or just talk to him. If you have a name of a DCE youth worker you want to share. We've got 3 Zoom interviews this week, but we still want more names to have a full pool to be able to talk to a lot of different people so that we can kind of get a sense of who's out there. So with both of those processes, please pray. This isn't just a job, we believe, but a calling, and we want God to lead us to the right people. I'll leave with this. There's in your packet, there's kind of a ministry report. Some of these things are in there. Pastor Greg, and I've told you this, I think you've heard me say this before, but I heard it first from Pastor Greg, the legend of Antioch, first century Antioch. It was the hub and headquarters of the Gentile mission, Paul's kind of launching pad for his missionary journeys. And even years later, this is not in the Bible, it's kind of legend. I heard it from Pastor Greg, so it's true, okay? But years later, you can imagine the spirit of St. Paul or Barnabas would influence the church there so that people would raise their sons and daughters to be sent. And that those parents would take their children to the harbor on the Mediterranean Sea, and they would get on ships to be missionaries. They would raise them to send them to Africa, to Spain, throughout the known world. And parents would weep at the harbor because they knew they may never see their children again. But that was part of the spirit of Antioch. On the 23rd, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have 4 baptisms on a Sunday, an infant and 3 teenagers. Those 3 teenagers want to be submerged. They want to go down under the water and come up into new life in Christ. And so I'm like, okay. So we're borrowing a tank from another church, and we're going to have 3 teenage baptisms of kids that are so sold out for Jesus Christ that they want to be submerged in front of all of you. And I just find that remarkable. We have 3 seniors who we may send, and we will weep when we send them. They want to be professional church workers. I've tried to talk them out of it. I know too much about the industry. A DCE and 2 potential pre-sem. There's a junior who wants to be maybe a DCE. We may be sending, this is horrible church growth, by the way. The best thing would be to keep them, to say, go to college and come back. We might lose them, and we will weep. But I lift that up to you in the midst of change that we may see and feel, that God is doing something, and that sometimes it's a little messy, it's hard to see. But this is part of Antioch. I think we have a distinct calling as a church, and it looks a little bit different, and we'll keep trusting the Lord who has led us to this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Pastor Jeff. What time, what service is this immersion?
I think 1 at 8:30, 2 at 10:45.
Oh, so you can get it either time. All right, cool. Thanks, Pastor Jeff. At this point, I would welcome Barry up to review the treasurer's report. Let's all give Barry a big round of applause, too.
Thank you, everybody. With tomorrow being is it Veterans Day tomorrow? If we have any veterans here, would you please rise? Thank you very much for your service. Okay, now we're on the purple sheets, I believe they are, in your packet. We have the year-end report from June of 25, and we have the September report. So we'll start with June. The first page is the summary page where we have the balance sheet summary, assets, liabilities, fund balance, general income from general operations. We had a net gain for the year of $14,000, which is $13,000 ahead of last year, so we did a good year. And a review of the endowment fund, which we will go into more detail later on in this report. The second page is a balance sheet. And in trying to get even more and more to let you see the complexity of what we deal with here as a church, we're not just here on Sundays. Under assets, the last 2 lines are the child care cash accounts and the Crave Coffee House cash accounts. They had always been separate because they had their own boards. They now all report to our church council, so we are adding those to the balance sheets that we show you. And the last 2 lines under ministry platform fund balance are the fund balances for those 2 groups also. Third page would be the operating report for the fiscal year. Total receipts were almost $1.8 million. Expenses were $2.5 million. To cover most of those, a lot of those expenses, we see a line that says net assets released from restriction. Those are donations that may have come in last year or may have come in just this year for special projects, and those are released to cover the expenses. And now the next page on this is the ministry platforms. This is the brand new page we're showing you. We've got the CMC Leasing, Health Center, CM Productions, Child Care, and Crave Coffee House for their FY 24-25 year. The receipts and the disbursements and the net gain and loss for all of these. And then the final page is the contribution report. For the year, we were up 4% over the prior year. You can all look that over. Any questions on the 2024-2025 year? Okay, we'll go on to the September report. Again, the same. We have the balance sheet. Total assets were $10.7 million. income and expense summary. Income was $380,000, expenses were $664,000, and we released $220,000 from restrictions, had a net loss for the first quarter of the year of $64,000, which in not-for-profit world, that's not unusual. Money coming in later on in the year. And the endowment, again, we'll go over a little bit later. Next sheet is a balance sheet. Assets, again, of $10,700,000. Then we have the operating report for the quarter. The income, the expenses, and then the ministry platform sheet for our other ministry platforms, the leasing, health center, productions, childcare, and Crave. And the next sheet is the general fund contributions again. For the first quarter, we are about 3% below last year's totals. Are there any questions on the September report? Okay, the last page of it is our endowment, of which we review that with you every November. Beginning balances were $510,000. We received contributions of $166,000, earnings of $66,000, and we withdrew $19,500 from the endowments for the various causes that we have the endowment for. Ending with $724,000. Is there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Barry. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the Gathering Square update. If we could. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Christy's right. We do need to approve the treasurer report for the fiscal year. That's typically something we do at the November meeting. So I would welcome a motion to, who motion? Sorry. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Bob Cunningham and Kathy Grorich. Bob Cunningham, motion to approve. Kathy Grorich seconded. All right. All those in favor of approving the financial reports? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thanks, Christy, for the reminder there. All right, turning to Gathering Square, if we can go to the next slide. So just to kind of back up, you guys probably all been in the know, but for those of you that have been in and out of meetings, we started looking at our parking lot and saying, oh, what could we do with the parking lot? One thing after another, our priorities kind of changed, our attention kind of got drawn all over the place, as Pastor Jeff alluded to earlier. And so obviously, you guys know we dealt with Incredible Pizza, which was a difficult tenant and wasn't paying their full rent. So we had that issue. And then this Gathering Square property came for sale. And so we decided that we were going to go ahead and take a look at it. I think strategically it could make some sense, and so we decided, okay, let's take a look. It was originally listed for sale at $6.34 million when we actually issued a letter of intent, and so that was to kind of engage, do more due diligence, and all of that. So we sent the seller a letter of intent to purchase at $5.9 million. The seller, and that was like in May when that happened. The seller countered with $6.2 million, and we countered with $6 million, which the seller accepted. So at that point in time, we brought that to the voters in August, and at the August 25th special voters meeting, we approved the purchase of the Gathering Square for $6 million. And that agreement was signed on August 27th. Which started the clock on the due diligence period. So that's just kind of back up where we've been. And there was a lot of great discussion about, okay, is this, in line with our priorities. And I do think strategically, especially because, and we'll get to this later, but when we look at the lots, there's 4 different lots on this property that are all subject to an operating easement agreement. And with the purchase, oh, thanks, that was a good slide. There we go. You guys can see the lots. So lot 4 is the big lot that we already own. Lot 3 was the target property, or not target, but the acquisition property, Gathering Square. Lot 2 is the new Duncan and Bank, and Lot 1 is the old BMO Bank, soon to be Citizens. And so those are the different lots that are subject to the operating agreement. And any of the owners of the lots can veto any new development or anything like that if they say, no, that's going to impact my easement use, whether it's a parking easement use or drive aisle easement use. So strategically acquiring Lot 3, and as a condition of the purchase and sale agreement, we wanted to form a 2-party agreement with the owner of Lot 2. And so we could basically say, hey, we can do what we want on our property, and you're not going to veto us. So essentially you could buy another vote, and so then you really only have one veto, which would be Lot 1, the BMO Bank. So, and it also keeps another potentially hostile party out of Lot 3, who maybe wouldn't approve of you doing something with your parking lot when the time comes to develop. So that was one of the objectives. Another objective is, hey, it's an investment for the church, and it could be, in 20 years when the mortgage is paid off, there could be some use for us down the road too. So there are a lot of different things coming at us. So that's just kind of the high level background. If we can go to the due diligence slide. So we closed this afternoon on the purchase of Gathering Square. We did sign the agreement. So the closing price on the settlement statement was $5.679 million. We agreed to pay our broker's fees on the settlement statement, but not in the purchase price. So the actual all-in cost was $5.795 million if we factor in the broker's fees. So that was largely due to purchase price reductions that we accepted from the seller after going through the due diligence period. If you guys have ever bought a house, you know how this goes. There's going to be stuff that you find, and some people will tell you it's the end of the world, don't buy, and other people are like, let's negotiate. And so that's kind of what our approach was, is we were negotiating, and we really wanted to get the purchase price reduction to help from a real estate valuation standpoint. So over the summer, the Gathering Square lot was appraised for you guys can read, $5,954,600. And that is going to be a huge increase to the real estate taxes for the tenants that do pay those. So we will plan to appeal that valuation, that appraisal, and hopefully get a reduction in the real estate taxes for the tenants, which shows goodwill going forward, I think, with the tenants, especially if we tout that a little bit, say, hey, we're doing you guys a favor. But just to kind of get you guys up to speed on the big items that kind of came up during the due diligence period. The Outback lease was definitely a big one. They have a 90-day termination clause, and they can basically give us 90 days notice, and they can be out of the lease. So that's certainly a risk. And we kind of talked about 2 different strategies on how to deal with this. One was to have the seller sign a master lease to basically back at least the first 5 years of the lease out of his own pocket. He wasn't going to go for that all the way, so he had offered to either he would back it for 2 years, up to a year's worth of liability of base rents and pass-throughs, the triple net costs, or he was going to give us a credit. So we decided, or a purchase price reduction in this case. So we decided to take the purchase price reduction, which was part of the purchase price reduction, And the theory is that, we don't necessarily see Outback leaving immediately, or maybe not a risk in the next 2 years, and maybe there is a risk that they do leave, and that's something we'll touch on more a little bit later. But that was part of the reasoning for accepting a purchase price reduction, was that that is a little bit of a risk to us. Another risk was the age of the roof. So that was a pretty big concern for us. A lot of the roofing companies that came in estimated it was 30 plus years old. And it's already got 2 layers of roofing. I've learned a lot about this type of stuff over the last few months. But once you do 2 layers, you can't just drop a 3rd layer on it. That's not to code. So you have to peel off those other layers to lay a fresh roof down. And so when we were getting quotes, this was kind of sticker shock, but we were looking at anywhere from basically $580,000 to $700,000 to completely pull off the roof and put a new roof on. So that was kind of a big scare for us. But then the seller he knows folks in the area, and actually got a quote from a roofing company who works on a lot of the schnookses in the area, and got a quote to basically seal it, get it all in very nice condition. There's a lot of little caps that are missing from different, vents or whatever, and there's a lot of different things that are off of the building, but they would seal it, cap it, put all the new stuff on, and they would warranty it for 10 years for $117,500. And basically, he agreed to meet us halfway on that with the purchase reduction on that. So that was part of the purchase price reduction. And then the other thing that we brought up that was a little concerning for us is the new kind of what we talked about. It's the triple net expenses. So the real estate taxes are definitely going up on the tenants. It was, the real estate tax bill was about $92,000. With the new valuation, it was going to go up to $168,000 a year, which is a pretty steep increase. And so, getting the tenants to kind of pay that all in one big fell swoop is probably a lot to ask and a little bit of a burden on them. And we kind of wanted to maybe ease that burden and ratchet them up over the next few years. So, so that was something that the seller realized and was willing to kind of offer another little purchase price reduction. So there's 3 kind of pieces to the pie there. Those are the biggest considerations. So that's really that. Another thing that I mentioned earlier, as a condition of closing, we were able to get a 2-party agreement to the operating easement agreement in place between us and Dan Jones, the seller, who also still owns Lot 2, which basically gives us his automatic approval to develop our parking lot with whatever ideas we bring forward in the future. So that was really good. So only BMO, the owner of Lot 1, would have veto rights over something like that. So that was another perk. And then we are also now engaging with a property manager. I know we had made that promise, and we've kept it. We are engaging with Gershman. They're going to handle all of our property management needs, which should help free up some church staff time to focus more on the church priorities. So we've made good on that. They're going to handle billing the tenants. They're going to handle all the expenses and giving us financial reports and all of that sort of stuff. So that'll be really nice to have. They also put everything out to bid when it comes time to do various projects. So just wanted to reiterate that. And then, so I guess we're kind of jumping around here. If we can go to the Gathering Square fundings, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. So how did the funding breakdown work? So LCEF did provide the full 80% of the original $6 million. So they did come in with $4.8 million to assist with purchasing the property. We received $535,000 in loans from various Christ Memorial stakeholders. Those are just 5% fixed interest, pretty flexible loans. And then we received $835,000 in gifts to assist with the purchase from members. So so all told, obviously, we were in excess of what the property costs us. So after closing, we have basically a $471,000 Gathering Square Reserve to help with sort of improvements, immediate needs on the property, which we thought was important to just get taken care of. So that's where we get to the improvement slide. First improvement slide, one back. There we go. So, you know, we're going to get to all the different, there's a few different spending proposals on the table, and we'll kind of cover all those at once. Did I lose you? No, I'm still here. And then, can you guys hear okay? Is it coming through? Okay. Over there. Gremlins. So, yeah, we're going to definitely want to go ahead and take some immediate action on the roof at Gathering Square to approve that. Again, I said we have a quote for $117,500 for a company that'll warranty it for 10 years. During diligence, we were primarily working with Gershman to get quotes on a new roof, so we might still try to shop that around with other companies to see if there's other companies who can kind of seal it and fix it up and warranty it for 10 years to see if there's another competitor in the same range or even better pricing. But that will be a priority. We thought 10 years was a pretty good amount of time to get warranted for the roof, and that gives us that buys us more time with that roof. And you know, the tenants are not saying that there's anything leaking. There's not anything coming down from their ceilings, so that's good news. It's still working, but it's just for peace of mind to get it all sealed up, and they would still honor this quote. That company just quoted that a couple weeks ago, and it's good for 30 days. So, so that was one thing. If we can go to the next slide. This is probably something maybe of more interest. So the way the purchase agreement was written was that, you know, the property was as is, and I think the seller wanted that because he didn't want us to call him on the parking lot, which we knew was in rough shape. But we didn't know the roof, so we kind of brought that up separately. But anyway, so we would propose spending to basically do some resurfacing of the asphalt. As you can see, the right side of that picture, the green shaded area, that's actually lot 4. So that's Christ Memorial's original lot, which we would want to resurface. And then all the way over in front of lot 3, and kind of around the back there of the Outback and the Fitz's too. This isn't like a final thing. We do have one quote for $264,000 to basically do this work, but it's gonna really make it look a lot nicer, get everything looking better, at least on the drive up. We're still not gonna worry about the total far right of the picture frame there, but that's gonna be included in the spending proposal. And again, this is coming from that Gathering Square sort of reserve funds of immediate improvements that we wanted to put into the property. And that work, parking lot work, might not be completed this fall and winter. It would just kind of depend on what if the companies could get the work done. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dana mentioned something along the lines that the weather can have an impact. So we might have to wait until spring, but we'll seek the approval now because if we can get on it and get it completed prior to the May meeting, we would like to do that. Okay, more fun stuff. All right, next slide is the Incredible Pizza. Okay. This is a map of Incredible Pizza, and so the right side is basically the proposed Christ Memorial expansion. If you guys are familiar with Incredible Pizza, like we get the go-kart track and then some of the front rooms up there where they had little party rooms and stuff like that. And then we kind of put a dividing wall up right on the restrooms. So we would kind of split the restrooms and leave the other space as leasable space for a potential tenant. So, you know, we've been talking about there's been an appetite within the church to take more space back for church use. And so that is something that we're going to propose as well. We're still getting quotes for a demising wall to put up. to separate the space. The goal is to basically get that at least done or all permitted by the end of the year, as it makes a big difference in real estate taxes if we can show that that is a church use space, and it's got an active use for the church, as then we can claim that as exempt and not part of the real estate tax bill. They won't prorate it based on when you take it for church use. So if we can get it done by 12/31, that's kind of the goal. So the demising wall, which we'll talk about, and then there's going to be some other expenses. There's got to be some HVAC rework, just where that all routes, and then some other improvements for a potential future tenant, which we'll touch on next. So yeah, there we go. We have a letter of intent from a place called St. Louis Antique Mall. They have one in St. Charles and then one in West County off Manchester, to lease the other 35,000 square feet approximately. So yeah, that's one letter of intent. It was their letter of intent was for $6 a square foot. And so we have not responded just yet. We were kind of waiting to figure out how the demising wall would look, what the square footage would look like, and all of that before responding. And we do plan to have a counter by the end of the week. We cannot enter a lease without approval from the voters. So we would kind of nail down the details and then present that to the voters, likely at a special voters meeting. I know you guys aren't sick of those yet, so that would be probably, pretty quickly, as it's a priority to get this space leased. We've had other interest. I think both the council and our listing agent like this tenant for us because the owner of the St. Louis Antique Mall, he's a really nice guy. He's very flexible. He's like willing to take, he doesn't have to have 35,000. He's willing to take 40,000. He's very flexible, and he loves the space as it is. Like, doesn't really want a lot of change, which is beneficial for us because then we, typically when you lease a building, you have to invest a lot in tenant improvement, and we're talking very, very minimal tenant improvement that we would have to put out for this sort of tenant. So it's mostly just kind of spray painting the black ceiling white because white is kind of better for retail. And then just some other little lighting fix-ups to make it more well lit for retail. And so, yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. And again, the voters will have to approve of that. This is also really critical just to get leased quickly because any tenant that we get next door is just going to be a good sort of a backup in case there were to be a tenant that would leave the Gathering Square. So if we can get this leased and get earning on it, typically with any new lease, there's a period of free rent that allows the tenant to basically get set up and get going, get operations going. So the quicker we can get somebody in there, the better. All right. Okay, that was a lot to cover. We're going to get to the kind of spending approvals. There's just a summary slide on here. So again, just to recap, on the Gathering Square property, and just to fill you guys in, the voters have to approve of any expenses over $100,000. That's per our church constitution. And so while these are sort of related to the Gathering Square purchase, I think it's better to present them for approval from everybody. But again, that $120,000 to complete the roof repairs on the Gathering Square, again, warranted for 10 years. And the funds will come from that extra Gathering Square reserve that we've already collected. And then approving the spending of, $300,000. We had a quote for about $264,000 to complete the parking lot repairs on lots 3 and 4 And again, those funds will come from the Gathering Square Reserve. And then I would also, we're seeking approval for spending $357,000 to put up a demising wall and complete various improvements within the former Incredible Pizza space. That would come from the church's strategic reserve. So that's not really related to the Gathering Square purchase. That's all space that we're going to take back. So we got to put a wall up anyway, and then getting the building, the tenant improvements and stuff done for a potential new tenant next door. So we do have one quote on the demising wall. It was for $237,000 to complete that, and then we're budgeting about $120,000 for everything else to improve the Incredible Pizza space, the tenant side. And then we would ask that each approval allow for just a 15% buffer, just in case there's extraneous costs that come along with it. But trying to really stick to those numbers as a good baseline. At this point, I would welcome a motion to approve of these spending objectives. Yeah, we're going to do them all together as one big approval motion. Yeah, one big motion.
Second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sorry. We should discuss. Is there any questions or comments about the spending approval motion before us? Thanks, Bob. Yes.
Your improvements to IPC include perhaps a little less jarring paint on the outside of the building?
That has been talked about, and that's a great question. So Mary Lou asked the question if the improvements to IPC would include changing the outside of the building, and we've talked about if we do come up with a lease with St. Louis Antique Mall that we would require them to at least change the colors. They like the quirkiness of the building, so that's one thing. But we would definitely want just a little bit of a color change or something. And so it's not set in stone yet, but that's the idea. The hope is to kind of get some changes made to there. Yeah, great question. Yeah.
I know that some people don't care about it, but will they at least fill some of the potholes coming from Southfield?
Who fill the potholes?
Like when they resurface the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. When they resurface it, they're gonna drill down a couple inches and then resurface it and make it all smooth, and yeah, it'll look much nicer. Yeah. That was the quote we got from Gershman. They helped us get that quote. I don't know that we're set on that, but yeah. What do you have some feedback? Deeper. Okay. The question was, how did we arrive at a 2-inch mill on the digging up of the asphalt? And should we consider maybe a deeper mill on the asphalt? Yeah. And the if I'm remembering the quote right, the asphalt company did say there's just not proper drainage on the property in general, so they're not going to necessarily warranty for any puddling that could occur, just because there's not appropriate drainage currently on the property. So that would be something that they're not going to warranty the puddling. Dan, you had something?
You mentioned the square foot, per dollar square foot, 6. What was it for Pizza Hut?
Yeah, 6 was their original offer. The pizza company was 4 1/4. Yeah, we're looking at more, hoping, for still triple net. So they'll pay all the pass-through costs with the real estate taxes, the CAM, all that, insurance. They'll pay their portion of that. Kathy? Keith?
Has it been discussed as far as the main entrance signage? Does that still say Incredible Pizza, and how is that going forward?
Yeah, it still does on the top there. We've talked about it, whether or not Christ Memorial would want to take the top spot, or if we would want to keep the tenant up there. It might be too much of a headache to kind of move them. I'm not 100% sure. There's not really been a decision made on that. In all likelihood, it wouldn't be hard to swap out Incredible Pizza for whatever new tenant does go in there if we just want to keep the positioning where it is. I think there was some feedback that Incredible Pizza had thought their sign was too high, that people were missing it, and they're not seeing that one. So maybe the church is in a prime eye location. I don't know. So I think there could be some more thought given there. Dennis.
Yes, on the schematic here for Incredible Pizza, the tenant possibly is going to get a kitchen. Is that going to be add-on, or is that going to be taken out?
That's a great point. And this is why I like this St. Louis Antique Mall owner a lot. He says a lot of his vendors need storage, and they all pay for storage units to store a lot of their stuff. And so his initial idea is basically to use the kitchen area as storage for people's stuff, and he'll rent them that space. But it's our desire to not have that space for us, right? We don't need the kitchen. So it would be our desire to lease that full space and just have him take that on. So that was one idea he had. He also knows some folks in the restaurant industry. He's been trying to potentially bring in for different concepts or different things that maybe they could run out of there. I don't know. He threw out like Ghost Kitchen and stuff like that. I don't know if anything will come of that. I think he's still kind of open to ideas for the kitchen space, but I know for sure he's planning to allow his vendors to store stuff there. Yes, follow up.
Did you call me?
Yeah.
I think the problem is when you talk about kitchen facilities and you don't want to use it, you want to use it for storage, you got to get all that equipment out.
It's empty right now. It's empty.
The kitchen stuff is out. Never mind.
All right, Bob.
Do we have the ability to dictate what can and cannot be sold at the antique mall?
That is something that we are taking into consideration. So there would definitely be some stipulations on at least what could be seen through the glass. That would be for sure. I think we're still kind of working through that. So that is something that we have definitely considered. Obviously, we don't want promiscuous stuff being posted right on the glass of the building, and so that's something that we would definitely need to address within any lease terms that do come up, as far as what could be sold, and maybe I don't know what's a reasonable solution, if there is any sort of stuff, maybe if it's in the back of the store or not seen at all, or I don't really know. But I think that is something that we are very much considering and trying to stipulate what they can show.
Do you have any idea of what their current stores do? What types of items they sell and resell, or types of vendors they have?
I have never been myself, but Cynthia, her daughter went, and
so my daughter's a big thrifter. She'll spend days and hours in all these stores. But she did they have a West County location. So she was inside over 3 hours with her friend and going through all the various booths. And the best way I can describe it to me when I go with her, and we did go back to the West County location, is it's a little bit similar to like a flea market, except maybe a little fancier is the way I would describe it. So you have people that rent out their individual booths to basically display all their products or things they've come across or things that they've made to sell those items. And everything is orchestrated in a way that it's not a big, huge room. It's all just individual little bit nooks and crannies that I call them. From an offensive standpoint, I mean, there are some what I call collector's items that we, again, could put limits on our lease of what would be allowed. And of course, when we come back for another voters meeting at some point, we will go through what the lease terms are, and the voters are going to have to approve any lease that we would do with anybody in this space. But it's very, very clean. It's not a junky feeling. It's very well organized. It's what I call the entrances on most of these. They may not want to make you feel welcome. So the layout and the displays and everything are presentable enough that if you really didn't know what you were walking into, you wouldn't know it would be an antique mall. Because usually the front space is filled with more items for sale. Holiday time, you're going to see all your holiday stuff start to come out of things that people are selling. And for the most part, it's, I would call it a quiet experience. So what I like about it is it's a quiet experience. So as people are going through, you wouldn't realize how many people are necessarily shopping because it's all these divisions and different aisles that you're walking down to. So I do like that concept that we're not going to hear laser tag next to us anymore. But overall, I would say it's a good experience, and his level of store that if you go out to the West County location and want to check it out, I think it is worth just, even if you don't like that type of shopping, just go in for 10 minutes and you'll get the gist of and the feel of what it'd be like in this space if they leased out next door to us.
Thank you, Cynthia. Other question? Oh, yeah. Dick.
The other mentioned about Chuckles and Crawford. The biggest one that I know about is right before you get to the stop sign. It goes down about 4 inches. And you mentioned a 2-inch mill. Does the asphalt provider, is he going to be bigger? I think there's a sewer in there. That's I don't know. But somebody needs to investigate. Is there any hidden project there that we, in terms of underground?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that would all be stuff, and I don't know exactly. I mean, just from what I recall from the quote, anywhere around sewers, they would mill around them and then try to make it more level. But those are the known sewers. If there's something that's unknown, and that would. Oh, the sewer is settled. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that's all stuff we would want to get clarification on from the asphalt company. Any other discussions, questions, comments? All right, call to question. So all those, if we can, yep, there are the spending approvals. All those in favor of approving the spending approvals as listed on the screen, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for the discussion. That was a really helpful discussion. All right, great. We're going to move on to the election of church council members. Prior to this, I do just want to give a special thank you and shout out to those that are departing our church council. Christy Roberts up here. She's been awesome doing the secretary role this year. Barry Rowald, as you guys know, the treasurer, handled the financials. And Jim Jocks is listening online, the former president. So thanks, Jim. And if we could just give them a round of applause for their service. All right, so that being the case, we do have one incumbent, Jill Collins. Jill, you guys can read the notes on there, but she's a partner at Ernst & Young. She joined us when Jim left. The way the bylaws work is we can appoint somebody. So we were able to appoint Jill to fill that role. And she's done a great job. She's been involved. We started a new finance subcommittee of the church council. So that subcommittee is really trying to do work to make the financials more transparent and to make them more readable for folks. And they're doing just a great job, among other things. So, so with that, we're going to go ahead and I would welcome a motion to just, so the way it works is the bylaws read is that, so church council can fill a vacancy and then that person needs to be ratified at the next voters assembly meeting. So this would be the ratification to confirm Jill to the appointment. So I would welcome a motion to move forward with that. Okay, second, Joe Harwell, thank you. All right. All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving Jill Collins, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Jill is confirmed. And now we have another election. So there are 2 more open church council positions. There are 3 candidates that were approved by church council. So when we reworked the bylaws a couple years ago, all the candidates, we don't accept nominations from the floor anymore. All the candidates need to be approved by the nominating committee of the church council. And all 3 are super qualified. You guys, they're all listed in your packets. Pam Abradovic, Scott Roberts, and Meredith Steffens. They are all running for church council. If you guys could each stand up here. There's Scott, there's Meredith, and Pam. Thank you guys for running. It's great to have a lot of interest in church council, and it's really great to have folks who are willing to serve. So we really appreciate the interest and everybody wanting to be involved. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on with church, and it's fun. So we welcome having new members. So with this, there will be a vote. Because there's 2 positions and 3 candidates. So there's a voting sheet coming around. If you can just select 2 names on the list, there will be a tally, and then we'll total those up and go from there. Trent and Barry and Bob are helping to hand out ballots. Does everybody have a ballot who needed one? If anybody needs one, just raise your hand. Has everybody had their ballot collected that's voting? And so Barry and Trent are going to total up the numbers for us. Again, just thank you to those of you interested enough to run. We need good folks on council, and we appreciate the interest. And there's always people terming off of council each year, so there's always opportunities to join. So even if this year is not the year, there's always next year, and there's going to be more people terming off, including myself. Woo! So that being said, while we wait for the vote tally to come back, because there's a lot of folks here, so that could take a little while, we're just going to move into the synodical nominations, and I'll have Pastor Paul come up and introduce that.
Thank you, Brett. We have been sitting for a little over an hour, so let's take a quick stretch break. Stand up, stretch the legs, say hi to someone around you before we dive into our next topic. All right, let's come back together. Find your seats. It is always risky giving people permission to stand up and pay attention to something else, and then trying to regather everyone. We started tonight by talking about maybe some potentially mundane things. We've talked about some exciting things. I will leave it to your judgment as to whether or not synod nominations, which category that falls under. But it falls to me to get to talk about that a little bit. In our congregation, we talk about what does it mean to do life together. We just received new members yesterday in our services, and we talked about common confession and common mission and common care for one another. And in a small way in a congregation, that's what's supposed to happen in a larger way, in a church body, in a synod. And so next summer in 2026, we have our synodical convention. This happens every 3 years. So our circuit got together about a month ago or so. Circuit nominates a delegate to go and be a voting delegate at the synodical convention. And guess who's going? Which means, among other things, that I get to spend part of July in Phoenix in 2026. So pray for me. Pray for me. The other thing it means for us immediately tonight is each congregation is allowed to make nominations for particular synodical offices. So the convention helps decide some of the business, resolutions, things like that. Before the convention, congregations nominate and vote on some particular offices within our church body, within our synod. Those are for synodical president, synodical first vice president, and regional vice president. So we need to nominate those men this evening. We also nominate or decide upon who our congregational presidential voters are going to be. And so maybe that's the easiest spot to start. We have up to 2 votes as a congregation. One is a pastoral vote. One is a lay vote. Pastor Jeff and I did rock, paper, scissors earlier and decided that I would be the guy for the pastoral vote, especially since I'm going to convention. For our lay vote, I am nominating Andrew Lee. Andrew is our head elder. The responsibilities for this mean we simply fill out an electronic form sometime in early 2026, process our vote, and all the results are released before the convention. So those are our two nominees that we'll put forward to you for who is going to vote for synodical president. For those nominations, I think probably the easiest way to proceed is I'll share a little bit about each one of those offices, what the responsibilities are, and then propose two names for all of you to consider. I think in the past we've had the opportunity for the congregation to nominate other names. We'll have that opportunity again. But because these can be almost quite literally any pastor within our synod could fill any one of these offices, it's sometimes nice to have a place to start. So maybe we start that way. For our synodical president, synodical president is the ecclesial authority over our church body, has responsibilities for international relations, overseeing not directly our seminaries, but the various different boards and mission organizations of our church body on a national level. In speaking with a number of my colleagues around the country and speaking with our circuit congregations, alliance congregations, and other similarly situated congregations around the country as to us, both in terms of size, mission, as well as kind of geography, being in between an urban area and a rural area. There were two names that I've heard from others and I feel confident in. Number one is Joel Bierman. He is a professor at Concordia Seminary in systematics. He's been in that role, I think, for about 20 years, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. Dr. Bierman is a member at Resurrection just down the street. Some of you might recall he came and taught one of our Fireside Connection classes this last year. And so Dr. Bierman would be one to nominate for the office of president. The second, David Davis. That's probably a new name for many of you. Dave Davis is the current president of the Michigan district within our church body. He was just reelected to a second term into that office. You might know this, but Michigan is one of the two largest districts in our church body in terms of number of congregations and number of members. It also tends to reflect the diversity of our church body when it comes to mission, when it comes to worship practices, when it comes to theological practices, all of that diversity. And so the two nominations for president that we'll start with, and again, be able to receive some from the floor, are Joel Bierman and David Davis. For first vice president, the first vice president's role is to assist the president. It is, I believe it's a full-time position. Jeff, Nathan, I'm looking at you. Yep, Pastor Jeff is nodding his head. It is a full-time position. Two names to nominate for that. Peter Lang. Peter is the incumbent first vice president, currently serving in that role. A second name, Wally Arp. Wally is pastor at St. Luke Lutheran in Oviedo, Florida. Is that correct, Pastor Jeff? Again, a centrist within our church body, a practitioner. He is currently serving in a parish, and I believe would serve well in that role. Lastly, we have the office of regional vice president. There are 5 regions in our church body. We fall in the central region. I could draw a picture for you where all those maps are, but just kind of think the states around Missouri. That's roughly the central region. The two nominees for that position. Number one, nominate again Joel Bierman. Now, some of you might be wondering, can we do that? Yes, we can. We can nominate an individual for more than one of those offices because, again, these are just nominations. These aren't the election to the office. And then the second name that I've heard consistently is some guy named Jeff Clater. Perhaps you're familiar with him. One of the things that we have done as a congregation intentionally over the last year is share, loved, and sent. One of the ways we did that is by hosting a national summit back in September. You guys remember Pastor Jeff was invited to speak at a number of gatherings around our church body, and that was strategic, that was intentional. That was to share what we believe, the good things we believe God is doing here with the rest of our church body, because we believe God is doing something good here, and we have something to share. It's also a testament to all of you. that Loved and Sent isn't just a slogan. It's not just something we say at the end of service, but it is something our church, you as God's people, have adopted as their own and live out in all sorts of various and wonderful ways. One of the byproducts of sharing Loved and Sent is that it garners attention from people who are watching. And so as I've listened to colleagues and other pastors around the country, Pastor Jeff's name is often put forward for a leadership role within our church body. I don't want him going anywhere. And so here's the really good news. To be a regional vice president, you get to stay in your congregation. It is not a full-time position. It will require some meetings, probably some travel as well. But I see this as a blessing, as a way for us to continue that mission goal of sharing Loved and Sent, of influencing other churches, other congregations, and our church body as a whole. So I'll go through the names one more time and then turn it over to Brett, maybe for the best way to receive nominations.
Quick question for you. How does the vote work in Phoenix? Each church is obviously different size. Based on our size in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, we would have more votes. In the Senate, you only get one vote per church. So, how does it kind of work? We're obviously a bigger church in the LCMS membership, but do we have kind of an equal vote to a smaller church, or how does that work?
Good question. The LCMS convention works more like the Senate, less like the House of Representatives. And so when it comes to these offices we're talking about tonight, that is essentially one congregation, 2 votes. It doesn't matter the size of the congregation. So those 2 votes are the pastoral voter and then the lay voter. So if we go forward with myself and Andrew Lee, those would be our 2 votes. When you get to the convention, all of these offices are already decided upon. That was a resolution approximately a dozen years ago or so that changed that format so that we walk into the convention knowing who the incoming president is going to be and all of the different vice presidents. Once you get to the convention, it is one circuit, 2 votes. So there's a pastoral delegate for each circuit and a lay delegate for each circuit. Circuits comprise of roughly 7 to 10 congregations, I believe that's the number, all within a geographical area. So we are in the Afton circuit, and just imagine some of the Lutheran churches in close proximity to us. We share a circuit with them. So one more time, the nominees to get us started: for president, Joel Bierman, David Davis; for first vice president, Peter Lang and Wally Arp; for regional vice president, again, Joel Bierman and Jeff Clater. Mr. President, we could accept further nominations.
Yes, we'll start with the president position. Are there any other nominations from those in attendance tonight for president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod? Just wanted to give everybody time to think. All right. And I appreciate Pastor Paul's approach and just throwing out a few names to at least get us started with each of these. So is there any other, we're gonna move on now to first vice president, another full-time role. Is there any other nominations other than Peter Lang and Wally Arp? Okay. On the regional VP role, any other nominations besides Joel Bierman and Jeff Clater? No? Okay.
And then one more, any other nominations besides myself and Andrew Lee to be our voters in February, March, April, when that comes up in early 2026.
So yeah, just confirmed with Pastor Paul. We can have two nominations for each. So since we have two nominations for each, that is perfectly fine. So I would welcome a motion to approve the slate of candidates Pastor Paul just presented. Moved. Yeah. Yeah, question?
Confused there. Are we determining to send both candidates forward or decide on who we're voting for as a church?
Good question, Jack. So each congregation is allowed to nominate up to 2 men for each position. So since we have 2 nominees for each position, the motion, I think, Matt, if I get this wrong, correct me, is to approve the slate that has been presented. And then we would nominate the 2 for president, for first vice president, for regional, and then establish our 2 voters.
Decision made to who's elected.
Good question. So the synodical offices compile all the nominees from all of the various congregations. For Lutheran Church Missouri Synod President, the top 5 nominees are then published to the congregations, and that is who myself and Andrew would vote upon, certainly talking to many others before we cast those votes. Does that answer your question?
To a point, but that leaves then the church body out of the decision then. All we're doing is send 2 people forward rather than deciding on who we want as president.
That's correct.
You don't do that, you're just putting together the synodical list of candidates, and they'll be ranked ordered, and then you all, the voters, or the congregations will pick from those 5 names who they want as their president.
That's correct. So Charlie outlined the process a little bit. The congregations have their voice in nominating. The top 5 nominees are then sent back to the congregations for voting through those that they delegated to be the voters. Did I explain that correct, Charlie? Thank you.
Well, has it ever been appropriate for the congregation to have, say, an open forum with our 2 delegates to discuss candidates? Once the final slate is identified.
That is not something I've seen before, although I don't know any reason why we could not do that if the congregation so chose.
Just a point to clarify, there are no term limits on the position for the president, correct?
That is correct.
And how often are the elections conducted?
Every 3 years. It is a 3-year term for all of these positions.
We did have a motion to approve the slate of candidates from Matt. Is there a second? Dennis? Any further discussion? I do appreciate this discussion, and I really like the idea of maybe if there would be a time to discuss with the pastors once there are some final selections. Maybe that's something we could look into, at least just maybe like an hour after church one day or something where there could be an open forum to discuss. But so I think we're definitely open to that possibility. What time of year do they finalize the lists? Do you know? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, Pastor
One
Paul.
moment. So the nominees are submitted by February 18th. Happens to be Ash Wednesday this year. The voting registration happens on March 8th, 2026. And the final votes are due, it looks like, by May 29th, 2026. And all that comes from a letter from John Sias, Secretary of the LCMS.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Oh, sorry, back there, Joni.
Yeah, as I recall, I think you'll get a book, and each person who is like the top 5
That's correct. There's profiles that are sent out in the various synodical publications. There's often interviews with the candidates or different biographical sketches, and so there is information available on each of the top 5 nominees.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Gonna move this forward. All those in favor of approving the slate of nominations as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Pastor Paul. Okay. Congratulations to our 2 new church council members. A very, very, very close election. Scott Roberts and Pam Abradovic. So thank you guys. That's how the voting came in. There was 1 vote separating third and second. So again, very, very close. So thank you to everybody for your interest. And at this point in time, we're going to move forward with the reception of the new voters. We had 4 folks introduce themselves earlier, and I'll have Pastor Jeff up to welcome you, and you guys can come up and sign the book here. Jeff and all those that stood up earlier at the beginning of the meeting, please come forward.
All right, we'll kind of tag team here. We got Novellis, you walked in a little bit late, but you're first time voting members as well, so you can come forward. Jeff Kuhlman will come up first. Jeff, have you and Carrie have been in our church for a couple years now? Year and a half. From Salem Lutheran. Little Gracie she's 7? She'll be 7 years old. And Jeff is a key youth leader. Jeff, you can sign yep. And then remember the fire's in the back. We'll put the brand in. Just bite down hard. Won't hurt too much. And Jeff is very engaged with our youth. He helps with Connections on Sunday morning youth events. Went to the youth gathering this past summer. Took a week of vacation. Works for Purina. And we're grateful that Jeff and Carrie Kuhlman and Gracie are with us. Welcome, Jeff.
Behind Jeff, we have Richard Scott and Pat Chepchek. Did I get it right this time? I did. That might be the first time. Richard and Pat joined our church just this last spring, so in May of 2025, so not even a year just yet. They're regular at our 1045 service. Pat is a retired nurse. She enjoys kind of the whole list of St. Louis attractions, so think like Science Center, Botanical Gardens, Grants Farm. You could go right on down the list. Richard enjoys working with his hands in retirement, and so we welcome Pat and Richard.
All right, we'll bring up Larry Ponce. He has been at both Reliant and Christ Memorial now. Somehow we have a connection through my brother-in-law, through my sister. He's been a part of church plants and new ministry starts all over the East Coast. He's been a part of other congregations. Yeah, I think what we usually call the coast, the fringes, right? He gets ministry, he gets mission. He plays guitar at Reliant. He's been coming over to Christ Memorial to serve in so many ways, especially on guitar. And we are just so thankful that he has been kind of captivated by that idea of being loved and sent. It's been really fun to have Larry around, and I am glad he's here in St. Louis.
And last but certainly not least, Herman and Lucia Novelli. They actually just joined our church officially yesterday. So I think they are setting a record for the fastest time between being received as members and signing the book. Herman is a pastor. He currently works for LHM in their Hispanic ministry. Wasn't able to be with us yesterday. He was up in Milwaukee on some official business there. Lucia is a teacher by trade. They have 2 kiddos, Gabriel and Damon. Gabriel's 7, Damon is 5. And we are so blessed to have them here with us. An incredible heart for mission and just loving people and being able to connect. We saw that in our Pathways class. So welcome, Herman and Lucia.
All right, we have an Amharic speaking service, Hispanic service next, right? Okay, all right, there we go.
That's it for the reception of the new voting members. So thank you guys for coming up for that. Pastor Jeff, kick it over to you for a closing prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, in all of the ordinary things, Lord, we know that you do the extraordinary. So we pray for all the things done tonight, for votes and resolutions and questions and planning and thinking, that it would all have eternal effect. That everything here in a building and with budgets would impact the lives of people for the sake of Jesus Christ, covered in his blood, that we may be the redeemed people of God, and that more people would know that they belong to the living Lord, and that more people may experience life eternal and be sent with that good news to more people. So, Lord, for all of these things, we place them in your hands, trusting you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming.